Before I begin, answer this quietly, just between you and the truth you avoid. If all you had was $100, would you treat it like the seed of your freedom, or the excuse to gamble for a shortcut? Because the market has a way of exposing a man's character long before it ever exposes his strategy. And most traders fail, not because the market is too difficult, but because they cannot handle the humility of starting small. They want freedom, yet they refuse to respect the very money that could eventually buy it. When I first sat in front of the tape, I learned something few traders ever understand. Small capital is not a disadvantage, it is a test of discipline, a test of judgment, a test of whether you crave excitement or results. A man who cannot protect $100 does not deserve $10,000. And every time I watched a trader blow a small account, it wasn't the market that ruined him. It was his impatience with small beginnings. You might think $100 is insignificant, but let me tell you something only experience can teach. The market pays attention to how you treat your money. When you treat $100 like a toy, it behaves like one. It disappears the moment you get careless. But when you treat it as a soldier, a worker, a piece of capital charged with building your future, something changes inside you. You stop slinging trades just to feel alive. You stop clicking buttons out of boredom. You start trading with purpose, and purpose is the only foundation that compounds. What most traders truly fear is not losing trades, but facing the truth about themselves. With $100, you cannot hide behind leverage, complex strategies, or oversized positions. Your weaknesses are exposed. Every mistake is amplified. Every impulse costs you more than you can afford. And that is exactly why the small account is powerful. It forces you to confront the trader in the mirror long before the market punishes you on a larger scale. When I traded with small capital, I didn't envy the men with bigger accounts. I observed them. Most of them blew up faster than the beginners, because size only magnifies recklessness. But the man who protects small capital with discipline learns something invaluable: the art of survival. And survival is the true beginning of financial freedom. You don't compound money until you first compound discipline. You don't compound your account until you first compound your control over your own impulses. If you want to turn $100 into something meaningful, you must stop treating it as a limitation and start treating it as training. The market is not testing your skill, it is testing your patience, testing your ability to wait for the trade that belongs to you, testing whether you can follow your rules when the whole world tempts you to break them. The small account is where a trader either grows into a professional or remains a gambler wearing a trader's mask. Because the truth is simple: $100 is enough to build freedom if you master the man holding it. The compounding does not begin in the account, it begins in the decisions, in the restraint, in the maturity to accept that trading is not about speed, but precision, not about constant action, but correct action. And the man who learns this with $100 becomes unstoppable with $10,000. Most traders misunderstand compounding because they only see it as numbers on a chart. They imagine the account doubling, tripling, surging upward, as if discipline alone guarantees speed. But compounding is not a mathematical miracle. It is a psychological transformation. A man compounds his money only after he has learned to compound his judgment, and judgment is built in the quiet moments when you decide not to enter a trade, when you decide not to chase, when you decide that your plan is worth more than your ego. With $100, every mistake is expensive. That is the gift. It forces you to create standards you should have had from the beginning. Standards most traders never develop because their larger accounts allow them to hide their flaws under temporary luck. But a small account exposes everything. It shows you where you hesitate, where you rush, where you justify nonsense because you want to feel like a trader instead of acting like one. And once those weaknesses are exposed, you are faced with a choice: confront them or repeat them. Believe me, I repeated mine long enough to learn the price of stubbornness. I chased. I revenge traded. I entered positions I had no business taking, simply because the tape moved sharply and I feared missing out. I watched profits evaporate because I refused to take them, believing the market owed me just a little more, and with each mistake the market responded the same way it always does, without sympathy. But slowly, painfully, through losses I could not afford, I learned the lesson. You cannot compound money if you cannot control yourself. The small account teaches you to wait, not because waiting is noble, but because waiting is necessary. You begin to notice something powerful. When you stop chasing every flicker of movement, the noise fades. Patterns become clearer. Opportunities stop feeling random. You start recognizing where the crowd panics, where the amateurs rush, where the market invites emotion from the weak and rewards patience from the strong. And when you take a trade from that state of clarity, even a small position feels like a victory of discipline, not luck. The trader who begins with $100 and refuses to break his rules becomes a different kind of man. He no longer needs the market to move quickly. He no longer needs big wins to feel worthy. He no longer trades to prove anything. He trades because the setup is there and because he has learned the most valuable mindset of all. That small, consistent progress is more powerful than dramatic swings. The market does not reward the dramatic. It rewards the patient. It rewards the steady. It rewards the man who is willing to let time be an ally instead of an enemy. That is where real compounding begins. Not with the trade itself, but with your refusal to destroy your account in pursuit of excitement. Every good decision adds to the foundation. Every avoided mistake strengthens your edge. Every patient entry compounds not just your money, but your identity as a trader who can be trusted with more. And trust, your own trust in yourself, is the true currency of financial freedom. As your discipline sharpens, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. The market stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like a conversation, one you no longer interrupt with fear or impatience. You begin to notice the rhythm of price, the way it moves, pauses, tests, and traps. You stop reacting to every tick and start observing the behavior behind it. And with $100, this awareness becomes your greatest weapon, because awareness costs nothing, yet saves everything. Most traders never reach this stage because they blow their small account long before they ever quiet their mind. They tell themselves they need more money to take trading seriously, not realizing that seriousness is what creates more money. But when you approach $100 as if it is the last capital you will ever receive, your senses sharpen. You stop forcing trades. You stop pretending volatility is opportunity. You begin to understand the difference between movement and intention. And the market rewards you not with profit immediately, but with clarity. And clarity is the root of every profit that will later come. When I studied the tape, I realized this truth early. The market doesn't need to be predicted. It needs to be understood. And understanding comes only to the trader who is patient enough to watch without acting. When you allow the market to show its hand, your small account suddenly becomes capable of big decisions, not big in size, but big in quality, the kind of decisions that avoid losses others run into, the kind of trades that make you feel calm even before they move, the kind of entries that almost feel inevitable because your preparation was deeper than your desire to be right. This is when the small account begins to transform, not through explosive growth, but through intelligent preservation. You find yourself losing less, not because you're lucky, but because you no longer give the market your money out of emotional obligation. You find yourself entering better setups, not because the strategy changed, but because you changed. You're not trying to catch the move anymore. You're waiting for the market to invite you into it. And as the account grows from $100 to $130, from $130 to $180, you start to realize something liberating. It's not the money that is compounding, It's your behavior. The profits are merely the reflection. Your patience compounds. Your restraint compounds. Your ability to say no compounds. The fewer trades you take, the more intelligent they become. The more intelligent they become, the more consistent your account becomes. And consistency is the first true milestone of a trader who will one day achieve freedom. The amateur thinks freedom comes from big wins. The professional knows freedom comes from eliminating avoidable losses. When you reach the point where you trust yourself not to sabotage your own progress, the market stops feeling overwhelming. It becomes manageable, predictable in its unpredictability. You no longer feel the need to rush because you finally understand the truth. A single high-quality trade is worth more than 20 impulsive ones. And slowly, trade by trade, decision by decision, the account grows. Not because you discovered a perfect strategy, but because you became the kind of trader who can handle both winning and waiting, the kind of trader who is no longer at war with himself, the kind of trader the market cannot easily break. Now, the remarkable thing about starting small is that it forces you to respect the rhythm of compounding in a way a large account never could. With $100, you cannot afford impatience. You cannot afford shortcuts. You cannot afford the arrogance of thinking you know more than the market itself. Every decision must be deliberate. Every trade must have a purpose. And in this restraint, something extraordinary happens. You begin to internalize the principles of wealth that most traders chase their entire lives without ever understanding. I remember watching traders with enormous accounts panic at minor fluctuations, while the man with $100 moved calmly through the same market. He could afford to wait. He could afford to study. He could afford to lose nothing more than he had the right to lose. And by doing so, he avoided mistakes that larger accounts often amplify. The market rewards the disciplined, not the bold. It punishes the reckless, not the inexperienced. And in this truth lies the secret to turning a humble $100 into something that compounds into real financial freedom. Compounding in the account is meaningless if the mind does not compound first. Every dollar you protect, every impulsive trade you avoid, every moment you resist the urge to chase profits is a seed of strength. And these seeds, when nurtured patiently, create an internal structure so solid that the account will eventually reflect it. The man who can survive, who can watch, who can wait, he will be the one whose $100 grows into something the reckless cannot imagine. Let me be blunt. Impatience kills compounding faster than losses. Traders think growth is measured by percentage gains, but it is measured by repeated adherence to rules under pressure. If you cannot follow the plan at $100, you will never follow it at $10,000. If you cannot control yourself in moments of boredom or fear, no system, no strategy, no market movement will save you. Discipline is the currency that compounds. Patience is the lever. And integrity to your plan is the engine that transforms small beginnings into freedom. And when you finally understand this, something changes. The noise of every chart, every signal, every whisper of price action becomes a guide, not a temptation. You begin to act with intelligence rather than hope. You trade from observation, not emotion. And suddenly, what was once a tiny account becomes the canvas on which you paint the life you wanted, not through luck, not through dreams, but through repeated, deliberate action. The man who masters himself with $100 has already won the war that the market cannot touch. And now, at last, the culmination of this journey reveals itself. The $100 that once felt small, fragile, almost laughable, has transformed, not because of some magical trade, not because of a sudden market move, but because the man holding it has transformed. He is no longer the impulsive beginner, the gambler chasing excitement, the man terrified of missing out. He is a trader of patience, of observation, of restraint. He is a man who understands that freedom is not bought in a single trade, but earned through repeated, disciplined decisions that honor both his money and himself. At this point, compounding is no longer merely financial, it is deeply personal. Every dollar now reflects the victories over your own weakness. Every gain is a testament to restraint when emotion demanded action. Every loss avoided is proof that you can outlast the impulsive, the impatient, the short-sighted. This is the mindset that transforms $100 into something capable of sustaining your independence. Because once you master yourself, the market cannot dictate your fate. Your habits, your judgment, and your discipline do. And here is the final truth. The freedom you seek has always been within your control. The money is just a measure of it. You started with $100, but the real account was never the balance. It was the trader who learns to wait, the trader who learns to observe, the trader who grows psychologically in the small, deliberate steps that most ignore. That trader does not fear the market. That trader is not enslaved to luck or whims of chance. That trader is free, no matter the size of the account. So when you hold that $100 in your hands, do not see it as trivial. Do not see it as a limitation. See it as a proving ground, a chance to build habits, patience, and mastery. Let each decision compound your character as much as your capital. Protect it. Respect it. Let the small victories teach you the lessons that large wins often disguise. And remember that true financial freedom is not a number on a screen. It is the power to act without inner conflict, to follow your plan without hesitation, to let your mind grow before your money does. If you carry this mindset, the world cannot stop you. $100 becomes $1,000. $1,000 becomes $10,000. But more importantly, you become the kind of trader who is worthy of whatever comes next. The market may test you endlessly, but you have already mastered the greatest test of all, yourself. And that mastery, my friend, is how a single humble $100 becomes the foundation of lasting freedom.